Hello, my name is Jim Newell, and I'm the Rejoin EU Party candidate in the Stretford and Urmston constituency for the general election that's taking place on the 4th of July. And I was wondering if you'd ever asked yourself why it is that general election campaigns tend to be so lengthy. If you consider the campaign that's taking place at the moment and that will only end on the 4th of July when we all go and cast our votes, the starting gun on that campaign was actually fired on the 22nd of May when a fairly rain-drenched Rishi Sunak announced the date of the general election. Seems an age ago now. So by the time everything is all said and done, we'll have had an election campaign lasting 42 days or 6 weeks. Rather a long time as far as the average goes. If one thinks back to the 1992 general election, for example, that only lasted 30 days. And I suppose in theory, if the authorities felt so inclined, you could actually have the date of an election set the day after all the various formalities concerning the nomination of candidates have been completed. In the present case, nominations closed on the 7th of June. So on that basis, I suppose you could have had an election on the 8th of June. So why is it then that the campaign is extending for a much longer period of time? And I think the reason has to do with the fact that election campaigns actually perform a very important democratic function. Because it's by virtue of election campaigns that parties and candidates are given an opportunity to set out their stalls. They're given an opportunity to present the voters the positions they take on the various issues. They're given an opportunity to debate with each other, and thereby voters are put in a position to be able to make an informed decision among the alternatives that they're required to choose from. So elections perform this very important democratic function, and I would argue that we would hardly consider elections democratic at all if they didn't place voters in a position to make informed decisions about the choices they had to make. I mean, that's, for example, why we have a whole series of rules about campaign spending, a whole series of rules about political broadcast, the kind of propaganda that parties and candidates can produce, and so on and so forth. So it was really with that in mind that yesterday I decided to write to the Manchester Evening News and to the other candidates taking part in the contest in Stretford and Urmston, and to issue them with an invitation. And in this invitation, I said to them, I'm writing to invite you to take part in an online Zoom debate with me at any time to suit you between now and the 4th of July. And I'm writing to invite the Manchester Evening News to organise it and publicise it in advance to their readership. I'm sure you will all agree with me that such an invitation would contribute to enabling the electorate of Stretford and Urmston to make an informed decision on the 4th of July, and therefore help to enhance the quality of democracy, as well as helping the Manchester Evening News to meet its responsibilities in the area of pluralism and balanced reporting. I look forward to your replies. So that was the invitation that I sent. And in terms of the replies, the only reply that I've had so far has been an auto-generated reply from the web address of the Green Party's candidate, where this reply said, if I can find it here, it said, here we are, it said, get this thing to work properly. It said, here we are, I am away until Monday, the 24th of June, 2024, and will not be accessing emails regularly. Now, of course, I may be pleasantly surprised, but my intuition is telling me that I'm unlikely to get a reply either from the Manchester Evening News or from any of the other candidates. Now, I'm not quite sure why my intuition is telling me this, but of course it could be based on experience. I was a candidate for the Rejoin EU party in the Stretford Urmston by-election in December 2022. And I remember at that time I attempted to contact the Manchester Evening News on more than one occasion in order to see if I could interest them in interviews and that sort of thing, in order to see if I could thereby communicate my message more effectively. But I got no reply whatsoever. Absolutely no response from them at all. And it seems to me that this raises a fundamental principle of democracy, one that I think is related to the role of the free press and broadcast media in ensuring democratic accountability of elected politicians. Now, as we know, in recent years, the role of the mainstream media as gatekeepers has been somewhat challenged by the role of new social media. Nevertheless, I would argue that the role of the mainstream media as gender setters has not been significantly challenged by the new social media, because while it is true, as I say, that the role of the mainstream media as gatekeepers has been challenged by the rise of new social media. In other words, it is no longer the case that the mainstream media are the only vehicles that parties and candidates have for communicating their message. Nevertheless, they remain important as agenda setters, meaning that it is the issues and topics that are talked about through the mainstream media that tend to constitute the substance of what is talked about politically on social media as well. So in that sense, the mainstream media remain very, very important. And it's important, I think, in a democracy that they should adhere to values of pluralism and balanced reporting, which includes giving due attention to the programs of small parties. Now, why then are small parties important in a democracy? I think that small parties are important for essentially two reasons. First reason is that although small parties obviously have great difficulty in winning seats in elections, nevertheless, they do play a significant role in setting the agenda of public political discussion, and can have a significant impact indeed on public policy itself. And I think nowhere was this better illustrated than at the time of the 2015 election with the case of the United Kingdom Independence Party. The 2015 election, you may remember, was the famous election at which David Cameron made his promise that if he won, there would be a referendum on the UK's membership of the European Union. A promise, incidentally, which David Cameron never believed that he would have to fulfill, because he didn't think he would win an overall majority. You may remember that at the time, David Cameron was the head of a government in which the Conservatives were in coalition with the Liberal Democrats. So, as I say, he didn't think that he'd have to deliver on that promise, a promise he made in order to remove the threat of UKIP to the Conservative Party. You may remember that at the 2014 European Parliament election, the United Kingdom Independence Party had taken a massive number of votes from the Conservative Party. They seem to pose a real threat. So David Cameron promises his referendum, doesn't think he thinks he's very safe in making that promise, because he doesn't think he'll have to deliver on it. But what actually happened, what actually transpired, was that at the 2015 election, precisely because the United Kingdom Party was successful in taking votes also from the Labour Party, an absolute majority for the Conservatives was the outcome that transpired. And so David Cameron had no alternative but to deliver on the promise that he'd made, with all the depressing consequences that we are fully aware of. So that's one reason why small parties are important in a democracy. Another reason why I think that they're important is because they give voters an important vehicle for expressing dissatisfaction with the main parties. And this is very, very important. As we all know, in the first past the post system, voters tend to feel that their effective choices are confined to the two front runners. And to the extent that they believe that that is the case, that effectively frees the hands of the leaders of the two best placed parties to take whatever positions they see fit, regardless of whether or not their members and supporters agree with them. A very good example of this is the case of Keir Starmer and Make Brexit Work. So the Labour Party has adopted this Make Brexit Work position, despite the fact that opinion polls and surveys all show that the vast majority of Labour Party supporters and Labour Party members are opposed to Brexit and would very much like the UK to rejoin the European Union, because Keir Starmer knows that supporters and members are unlikely to rebel against him. He feels that he doesn't really need to make any significant concessions to those people, also because he knows that the Conservative Party is so desperately unpopular that these people, precisely for that reason alone, are likely to support him anyway. Unless that is, these people are willing to rebel against Keir Starmer and say, no, we're not going to allow you to take our support for granted. You have adopted positions that we don't agree with, so therefore, basically, we're not prepared to vote for you. If those voters do that, then there is some possibility, at least, that Keir Starmer will pay attention, and that we will have a chance of influencing the agenda of public political discussion. However, where small parties are deprived of publicity, effectively they're unable to perform this democratic function, and the overall level of accountability in the political system is significantly diminished as a result of that. So in short, I hope to hear from the Manchester Evening News soon. I will let you know in round about a week's time whether or not this has been the case. As for the other candidates, I hope that they're willing to debate with me. If not, then I would like to ask them why they're unwilling to perform this democratic service. If you listened to Question Time on the BBC last night, then you may remember that Keir Starmer said that politics needed to change and be about service rather than about entitlement and making money. Well, if that's the case, then I would like to know why it is that Keir Starmer's candidate in Stretford and Urmston, Andrew Weston, has not replied to the European Movement questionnaire on its manifesto on Europe. It sent a number of questions to candidates up and down the country, asking them to respond to 19 or so questions, setting out their positions on what they thought the UK's relations with Europe ought to be. And if you have a look at the Stretford and Urmston constituency, then what you can see is that only two candidates have replied. One is Jan Jerome of the Green Party. The other is Jim Newell, that's me, of the Rejoin EU Party. And then when you have a look at all the other candidates, you can see that none of them has so far at least taken the trouble to reply, including Andrew Weston, the Labour Party candidate, who is the front runner in the Stretford and Urmston constituency. This, I think, reflects the fact that Brexit has been very much the elephant in the room at this election. It is the most important issue, most important single issue, I would argue, and many others would argue, underlying our current misery, and yet none of the main parties are willing to talk about it. Conservative Party isn't willing to talk about it, I think because of the difficulty it has in pointing to any obvious Brexit benefits. The Labour Party is unwilling to talk about it because it's unwilling to face down Brexit's far-right promoters in the Reform Party. The Liberal Democrats are unwilling to talk about it because they are concentrating their limited resources on what they consider to be a small number of winnable constituencies there to say the things that they think that the voters encounter there want to hear them say. And yet, despite all this, less than a quarter of voters now think that leaving the EU was a good idea, that they think that less than a quarter think that it was the right decision. And this in spite of the absence of any leadership whatsoever from the main parties. Now, I would say, Mr. Weston, that surely voters are entitled to know where you stand on the issue. And that if you're unwilling to respond, then I would suggest that this reflects precisely that sense of entitlement and contempt for voters that your leader was complaining about on television last night. I think that the public deserves better. So if you agree with me, I would ask you to share this video widely. As I say, I'll come back in a week's time to let you know whether I've had any response from either the Manchester Evening News or the other candidates in the election. I think voters deserve better. I think it's only by bringing pressure to bear on the candidates, by effectively saying to them, you're accountable to us, not us accountable to you, and that no, we are not prepared to vote for you as long as you ignore us, and as long as you treat us with contempt by refusing to engage on the issue. It seems to me that it's only if we are willing to do that that we'll be successful in bringing about any real and progressive change in the country. So, as I say, please share this video widely. I hope you will support me in the election on the 4th of July. I'd be very grateful if you did so. In the meantime, I thank you for taking the time to listen to me. I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you very much indeed, and goodbye to you.